Today we're going to be talking about our environmental engineering unit, which is cleaning an oil spill. Think about what we already know about oil spill. Think about habitat. Think about environment that we've already talked about. We're going to be reading Tea's Pollution Solution. It's about environmental engineering. Do you have any idea what type of work an environmental engineer does? I want you to write it on a sticky note. In a complete sentence, you need to answer, what is an environmental engineer? You need to answer, what does an environmental engineer do?
I like how you explain, so explain it again.
An environmental engineer does things like they work on
Designing things.
They work on designing something for the environment, like I think it's like a normal engineer, but instead of working on like buildings and stuff like that, they work on the environment and plants.
You should be almost done in 5. Does everybody pretty much agree that an environmental engineer does something with the environment and studies it to solve a problem? Can we be more specific on exactly what type of work that they might do? Jennifer?
I think an environmental engineer, a specific work they might do is, for example, if an oil spill happens, they help clean it up.
So for the next 15 minutes, we're going to start reading. We're going to start with chapter 1. Okay, begin.
So, chapter 1, a discovery at the river. Okay, my turn. I heard footsteps and Sam appeared. He scrambled down the rocks to join me on the riverbank. Take a look at the sketch, I said.
What I figured out is oil's probably sparkly because when they got back to the lake, it said the oil was sparkly, so that's why I think the water was sparkly.
If you have not finished reading chapter 2 and 3, you are expected to finish reading it on your own. We're going to take a look at an ecosystem. I want you to take a look at the first picture in your STEM folder. Turn your page. This is the ecosystem today. And I like what Jennifer's doing. She's flipping back and forth. What's the difference between the ecosystem 50 years ago and the ecosystem today?
I believe that the birds are being hunted, so sometimes birds eat bugs and fish. So since there's no birds, more bugs and more fish can grow.
So are you surprised that an environmental engineer is helping to clean up an oil spill? Why or why not? How?
I'm not surprised at all because an oil spill affects the environment because it hurts the plants and animals of the ecosystem.
Does that make sense? Environmental engineers help with the environment, so they're going to be there to help protect the ecosystem and to get the ecosystem back where it needs to be. So, and we're going to actually stop here and we're going to go back and continue reading chapter 4 and 5, still monitoring, clarifying, and discussing to continue. Okay? Please begin.
They set up a big white tent by the edge of the river. That's where they bring animals that have coated with oil. Sam and I have been helping there a lot.
I couldn't believe how interested the environmental engineers were in everything we know.
We're going to continue this on Monday. We're going to talk more about what they've done about environmental engineering. What have you learned so far today from our discussion, from our pictures of the ecosystem? What is an environmental engineer? What do they do? And what happens to the ecosystem if an oil spill spills? Jennifer.
What I've learned so far is that environmental engineer also cleans up oil spills, and not only oil spills, but something in nature.
An oil spill doesn't just affect the lake or river itself, it affects all the animals and plants and all the living things around it.
I've heard from Jennifer, I've heard from Hal. Matthew.
So I agree with all of them, and I'm gonna say it's important to keep the environment clean and don't do stuff you know that you're not supposed to, or you could hurt a lot of animals, and it could change our environment in a lot of different ways.
So you have to think about everything that you do has an impact on our environment. Very nice. Thank you very much. You may close your books. So today, we're going to take this information that we have, we're going to continue reading, and we're going to finish the story and talk about how she came up with a solution. We're going to continue reading. You are working as an entire team, reading together, the entire team. Begin, please.
They start with the eagle grabbing that salmon, then it onto the oil covering the water, rocks, and plants. But then come the picture showing the solution. There's Thomas looking over the map with the elders there. I think it's trying to tell us that Puppeta means deer in like their language. What do you think it means?
I mean, it means deer in my language too.
She poured a spoonful of oil into the bowl. Wow, it is like an oil in the river, I said. Look at how it floats on top of the water.
Okay, the past two paragraphs just talked about how they made the model.
Yeah, like they're making a model to represent the river, and maybe they're gonna try to figure out a way to clean it up. So that's why they made a model in their kitchen. Yeah.
So it's kind of like an experiment.
Yeah.
So like a mini experiment.
Come on back. So let's take a look at this. And we're going to talk about the engineering design process. So go ahead and with your teammate think, what would you put in each? When Taya tested her cleanup process, she was using the ask step, or was she using the imagine step, or the plan step, the create step, the improve step? Which step was she doing? Talk to your teammates.
I think it was create because they're creating something.
Yeah, but testing it out. I think it was
Yeah, they were testing
planned.
it.
I think it was planned because she was testing it. I think it.
But create is like basically creating something as you create
But
it.
but you plan something out and you test it to see if it will work, and then you create it.
So it's planned.
How can you test it if
Yeah.
it's not created?
Yeah. We can't decide if it's plan or create
For what?
for like the number, like the one on here.
So who'd like to read number 1 for me? Juan.
When Taya tested her cleanup process, she was using the blank step.
Turn to your neighbor and think.
Create. I think it's create.
It's create, but I still think it's planned.
Well, I think it's okay. Wait, I
Because
think
when
it's
you plan something out, you draw a model and you test
okay,
it out.
and it says tested and creating. So, and that's basically, well, testing, cleaning up. That's basically create. That means it's create. Are you still going to plan? Are you still going to plan? Are you going to? I'm going to create because it said testing and
That kind of helped.
yeah.
This is the create step. What do you think number 2 would be? Thank you. Great participation. Wow. All right, ladies and gentlemen. So think about this. Engineers use this in their daily lives. And our idea is so that we're using it so that we can understand the engineering design process and the steps you need in order to create anything. I enjoyed having them read the story instead of me reading it because they were able to be more involved and there was a lot more discussion than just me reading the story to them. So having them read it to each other, discuss it and clarify and monitor, they were more involved and I think they understood the book more.